everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to give you guys a life update because I know I've been very cryptic over the last few weeks about some things that are going on here at my house, and I guess it's time to let you guys know what is going on now that some of the unknowns are starting to get a little bit better. So some of you already know based on some comments I've made on other people's channels. Some people know just because I talk to them in my real daily life. But we almost lost Jaeger. Not once, not twice, but 3 times in the last 3.5 to 4 weeks. And it's been a struggle. And it was a situation that just didn't need to happen. So I'm going to try to be as concise as I can with this. My darling little fuzzhead got into my dirty laundry. I do feed my dogs raw. Well, I did feed my dogs raw. Now I cook for them instead of feeding raw just because it needed to be done. I do think there are some good things in feeding raw, but I'm also feeding the same things to my dogs that I fed raw, only slightly cooked for bacteria reasons. But suffice it to say, when I was preparing raw food, I would have to clean up my kitchen counters and stuff like that. There was remnants of that food that would get on the cloths and stuff in my laundry, and I had a basket of dirty laundry that I was gathering stuff to take downstairs to my laundry room. My laundry room is downstairs. And unbeknownst to me, when I went into one room to get dirty laundry, Jaeger had gotten into my laundry basket, and I guess he had eaten either a dishcloth or a dish towel that had remnants of his food on it. I had no idea that he had done this. I have so many dishcloths and dish towels, wow, I can't talk, that I didn't miss anything out of the basket. It was a completely full basket. We're a family of 5. There's a lot going on, and I totally did not know. He seemed fine all night. I had no reason to know that he had done this, and it had been after he had eaten his dinner. And there he is. It's probably the first time we've heard him bark in weeks. So the next day, I had a friend over. We went out to lunch, took the kids out to lunch. My husband was here, and he had to leave just prior to lunchtime to go to work. So Jaeger was here with Greta, but she's in a pen all day when we're not home because she can't be trusted. Apparently now Jaeger can't be trusted either, but suffice it to say he was only home alone for a few hours between the crossover of when my husband left and when I got home. And I knew immediately, the moment I opened my front door, that something was wrong because the smell was horrendous. It smelled like death in my house. And I'm looking around my house thinking, what the heck has happened in here? Did I leave like something in the trash that just kind of got nasty? Well, I walked into my bedroom just over there on the other side of my bed, and Jaeger had relieved himself of his breakfast that morning. And like I said, at that time I was feeding raw. But I have never smelled anything quite so vile as that. And it was concerning. Got it cleaned up. He seemed okay, little but not horrible. And then I took him outside because, you know, he'd been in the house, and, you know, when dogs have been in the house, they need to go outside and take care of business. And he did, and it was pink. His business was pink. Like, almost like a pale magenta, dusty rose kind of color pink. And I don't know about y'all, but I've had animals most of my life. That's not natural. I knew immediately that something was very wrong to have an unnatural color coming out of my dog. And I was concerned maybe it was food dyes, and then I'm like, no, I have been using the same base food for him for over a year. So I just knew. It's mom's intuition, I guess. Trust it. If you have that intuition, don't second guess yourself, trust it. So I called the emergency hospital, and it's not far from us. It's only about 15 minutes. We're lucky that we live in an area because I'm kind of out in the country and there's a lot of animals out here of all shapes and sizes. And so I'm very lucky it's only about 15 minutes from us. I called to get in the queue because it's extremely busy. We were in the queue for hours, and they only take patients up to a certain time before they close down for the night, even though they have staff overnight, that is staff dealing with patients that are in there being hospitalized. So unfortunately, Jaeger was in this queue, and they knew they were not going to get to him in the queue. And so they sent me a text saying that they were not going to be able to get to him till the next morning. And of course, my heart sank. I'm like, there's something wrong with him. Because as the time went on waiting in this queue, he started getting more and more lethargic. And he's a very vibrant dog. You guys hear him barking all the time. He's got a lot of personality in, his little fuzzy body. So I was getting concerned. And they did continue to text me updates of how the queue was moving and stuff like that. And it got to probably 8:30 at night, and they sent me a text saying that their queue was still busy. They still didn't think that they were going to be able to get me in that night, but they do have another veterinary clinic that was kind of in the area that will take emergency cases in their after hours. But that emergency vet doesn't always have emergency hours. It's if they have no late appointments that carry over, then I guess they advise the animal emergency hospital that they can take emergency patients. And it's usually from like 6 to 10. So we were able to get in up there. I called and they're like, just bring him right away. Took him up there, and he was just kind of very lackluster, not a lot of energy. And they took him back, did x-rays on him, did chest x-rays and everything, and they said that it looked like he had eaten some fabric. At this point, I didn't know that he had gotten into my laundry, but based on the conversation I was having with the vet there and the x-rays and everything, I kind of put two and two together that had to be what he had done. So unfortunately, by the time we were able to get him in, they did a preliminary check on him. They did the x-rays. They didn't have the staff there to do anything as far as like a surgical procedure for him. But they said to come back 8 a.m. the next morning. That is when they opened. They gave me the very first appointment. That's how serious they thought it was. And they were bumping anyone else that had just a regular like vet checkup. They were prioritizing him, which I was very thankful for. So I did get him in 8 a.m. We had him there. They took him back, x-rayed him again, just to see if anything had moved, because if it's something that's in his stomach and it starts to go into his intestines, that causes even more problems. They were hoping that they could scope down his throat, pull things out. They did attempt the scope. It was too many pieces, and it had progressed too far that they had to perform surgery on him. So they did the surgery, and it was bad. It was really bad. It had definitely progressed into his intestinal tract, like the upper intestines, and they had to cut his entire stomach open and the top portion of his intestinal tract to remove this foreign body, which turned out that it was a dish towel, shredded, and some green tomatoes that he had pulled off of my vines in my garden. The green tomatoes were not the issue. It was definitely the fabric, because it's non-digestible. So he had the surgery, and we were able to pick him up at 8 p.m. that night. So they had him about 12 hours. They did 4 levels of sutures. They had to do his stomach. They did a pexy, and if you know dogs, especially deep-chested dogs like shepherds are, they are prone to bloat. So basically they tack their stomach so that it can't flip on itself. So we opted to do that while she was already in there. And so he had this massive, massive surgery. His scar's like this long. And we were leaving, trying to get him in. I drive a Suburban. It's a very big vehicle because I have a big family and big dogs, and we do road trips. We were trying to get him in it, and he was struggling. It was pitch black outside. But we don't know for certain, but we believe that he popped some stitches that night. That was Labor Day weekend. They were not opened again. That was on Saturday. He had his surgery on Saturday. They were not open again until Tuesday, and we couldn't get into the emergency vet again, Labor Day weekend. So, and I totally skipped over the fact when they brought him out. Sorry, my brain is like fried right now. When they brought him out and they gave us like the synopsis of everything they had done for him, they had said we were basically about 2 hours away from losing him. It had progressed to the point where it was so lodged in his intestines and it was blocking everything and creating like a pressure in there that I don't know if she said it was going to rupture or it was going to block off blood flow or something. I cannot remember exactly how she phrased it because I was so upset that we were basically 2 hours-ish away from losing him. So back to where I was, we noticed that he had popped stitches the next morning and he had been sedated. So there's no way he could have done it in my house because once we brought him in the house, he didn't go anywhere. He didn't go out to pee. He didn't eat. He did nothing but lay because he was sedated. So it had to have been when we were getting him into my Suburban. I did everything I could for this dog while we were waiting to get in to be seen again. And I knew nothing was open till Tuesday. And I could see that his sutures had opened up and some of his flesh was coming out. Not in like a gross way, but like I was worried that this whole thing was going to come open. And so I bandaged him the best I could. I had my husband watching him while I ran out to Walmart and I got like all the Ace bandages they had on their shelves. And I wrapped this dog the best I could to keep everything where it needed to be. We got him in the first thing on Tuesday morning. They took him right back. They were an amazing vet. And they said, definitely he's popped some stitches. Let's get him cleaned up. We'll do sutures, whatever. And they said, you can come back in a few hours and get him. We'll call you with updates, whatever. So they get him back there to clean him up and redo the sutures. And I asked in the place where those had popped, can we do staples instead? Because he's a big dog and he's strong-willed. So they're like, sure, we can do that. I don't think we were even 7 minutes away from the building, leaving him there, and we got a call saying that it was way worse than they thought it was. It was infected, there was necrotic tissue, and they were going to have to do most of the surgery over again. And he was feverish, he was struggling, and my heart sank. I'm like, you know, please God, let this dog be okay, because he's a part of our family. I know he's just a dog, and to some people, that's all he'll be, is just a dog. He's an animal, but to us and to our family, he's one of us. Yeah, he's got 4 legs, he's got fur, but he's one of my children, and he's like a sibling to my children, and he's very important to us, and I didn't want to lose him. He was a priority. He needed to be taken care of, no matter what the cost, and let me tell you, the cost is astronomical. So I just told them, you do whatever you have to do. Just save his life, and, you know, we'll figure out how we're going to pay for it. So if you wonder why I've been doing extra videos, this is part of it, and the stress to keep me from going crazy. So we were able to pick him up again 8 p.m. that night. He had all the staples. He had the necrotic tissue taken out. They tried to get as much of the infection out as possible, and they gave me another antibiotic for him. His follow-up was on September 11th. They said he's doing okay. He does have a little bit of discharge, but, you know, just to wash it off, they gave me, or they told me what to get to be able to clean him up. And, you know, that was that. We were done with the antibiotics at that point, and we just had sedatives to keep him chill so he doesn't pop open where the skin had basically just healed, because he had no staples or stitches or anything else anymore. So that was September 11th. Then we noticed a few days after that the areas where he still had drainage from his incision looked like they were getting worse. Not raw and red and inflamed, like you would normally think of an infection, but like it was, like stuff was coming out of it. It was gross. It was absolutely gross. I could not get into that vet that did his first 2 surgeries, and they were closed for like the next 2 days. So I was actually able to get into the emergency vet where we originally tried to get into, and they were able to see him. Normally they put you on the queue, but I explained everything that was happening from like the very beginning of us being in their queue, 2 weeks prior to the whole 2 surgeries and everything else, and what his situation was. Because that morning that I called them, I went out because he's in our kitchen, in our living room, just to have a little space to move around. Even though he's not moving a lot, he could not get up off the floor. He's a 4-year-old dog. There's no reason, unless something is wrong, for him not to be able to get up off the floor. And the moment he saw me, he started crying. And again, that gut instinct, I knew something was wrong with him. So, I made the calls, explained everything to their reception. They were amazing, absolutely amazing. I had to get my father-in-law to come up to help me move this, what used to be an almost 100-pound dog, out to my Suburban to get him out of the house, to get him to the emergency room. And my in-laws live in the next county over. They're not like right around the corner. My husband was at work. My kids are too young. They can't help me lift this big dog, especially one that's in pain and, is a little bit snippy, which I don't blame him for, because, he was in pain, had been through a lot. So my father-in-law helped me get him into my car and got him over to the emergency vets, or the animal hospital. Gosh, my brain is just, it's going a mile a minute. There was 3 female techs and myself and one of those gurney stretcher things. It took us, all 4 of us, to get him out of the vehicle and get him into the hospital, where they took him back. They said he is dehydrated, he is infected, it's a very severe infection. They were thinking he might need a revision surgery, because it was all, like, the whole entire thing had become infected behind where the incision was. Like, there was only a few little holes that were actually open, but the infection was all up inside of him. And it was just those few little holes that were allowing any of it to drain out. And, like, we were at, like, the 3-week mark, and we thought he was going to be doing better. Things were getting worse. That's why I hadn't said anything, because I didn't know what to say. I still didn't know if he was going to make it. So he was actually hospitalized for 2 days on IVs and everything, intravenous fluids, antibiotics, everything like that. We were going over to visit him frequently, taking him food, because everything that they would provide, he can't have because he's allergic to, which is why I cook in the first place for him, or why I was doing raw and now cooking. So it's been crazy. It's kind of been a nightmare, and he's home with us now, as you heard him bark, and he's doing better. He's not out of the woods yet, but I have noticed that of the 4 holes that he had in his incision, he's only got 2 that are still open, and they're smaller than they were. There's very, very little drainage. Sometimes there's none at all, and he's still on really good, strong antibiotics. They really, they have him on something very good right now. He's getting a lot of pain meds, a lot of sedatives, which he's about due for, which is why you were able to hear him. But we're just taking it a day at a time. I'm constantly, checking on him. I'm constantly cleaning his incision and giving him meds. It's like a round-the-clock thing. And I do think we have turned that corner, which is why I'm actually sitting down and talking to the camera about this, because I know some people are like wondering what the heck is going on. And I think he's going to be okay. He's always going to have certain struggles, but I think the worst is over. I hope the worst is over. I'm praying praying every night that the worst is over and that he's going to heal and be just as wild and crazy and healthy as he was before. But I have to say that if you feel like something is wrong with yourself or your pets or anyone that you know, a loved one, trust your gut. Please trust your gut, because you don't know that even like an hour or two can make or break an entire situation. And I know with Jaeger, if I had waited, if I had just said, you know what, let's just see what it looks like in the morning, he wouldn't be here with us. So just trust your instincts. Us women, we're built with these instincts. It's just something that is inherent in us, and we need to trust our gut and our instincts and, act upon it. So Greta's chilling in here. Jaeger is blocked into another area. They are dying to see each other than between a gate, but I have to keep them separated. But that is my update. And I thank all of you for your well wishes and your prayers and everything else. I really do appreciate it. Good vibes, all that stuff. Keep them coming until he is completely better. And as I get more updates, if there's any changes, I will let you know. Or, if he just continues and gets completely better and that's that, then, hopefully we won't have to talk about this anymore. This is a really hard video to film. And I hate feeling vulnerable. It's just, that is not my wheelhouse. So I did feel like I owed you guys an explanation, because I felt like I was very cryptic in some other videos, but I just didn't know how to talk about it while it was going on. And I thought, with it being so fresh and raw, I wanted to kind of keep it close to the cuff, because I wasn't sure how I was going to deal with it. So that is everything that's going on. Crazy Greta is up there doing her Greta thing, and I'm gonna go check on Jaeger and give him his meds. All right, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until I see you on my next video, have a beautiful and healthy day.